All right, we're back online.
We're back on. Sure. Because I went to County Pride too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Over here. Is this the radio?
No, this is we're live on YouTube and Facebook Live. I love it. And your name?
Sheila Daniels.
Sheila Daniels. I'm Shawn. Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
So, what brings you to Pride today?
Well, my church is Smyrna United Church of Christ, and we're open and affirming, and we have a booth here.
That's awesome.
We had a booth at the Canby Pride, and we've had it for a long time, but since this is the first one here, we've been open and affirming church for a long time. So
and I really appreciate that because I think a lot of people are under the impression that every church is not. And so when you see churches that are actually affirming and taking those steps, because if you look at it, it's following Jesus no matter what.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's true. And I've been a member of the United Church of Christ a long time, and since they were the first church, mainly the first church that ordained LGBTQ, then almost all the pastors are gay. So it's perfect. It's just,
yeah.
I love it. I go to meetings and it's just, I know everybody. I know a lot of the pastors, but.
Well, and we should be accepting of everybody.
Well, exactly.
It takes so much work not to.
That's what the Bible taught us.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, and how long has this church been around?
150 years.
See, that's why I wanted to say it. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but 1893, I think it was.
Yeah. And so, one of the things that I appreciate about affirming churches is that it's all about the faith and community.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about anything sort of with negativity at all.
Right.
And I really appreciate that.
Well, and I get aggravated at churches when you go there and then they kind of think, oh, well, these people are better than these people. I just have never been that way, probably because I was raised in the Congregational church.
Yeah. But it's such more work to be that way.
It is.
Yeah. It takes much more effort to be exclusionary than it is just to be welcoming.
It does.
Yeah. And especially if it gets, and I always find it sort of it gets in the way of what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
And who am I to judge?
Well, and I don't know if you read about the Beaver Creek United Church of Christ. And their windows, their stained glass windows that they've had for 100 years were broken out. And they classified it as a hate crime because they have their open and affirming flag out, their rainbow flag out.
Yeah.
And it's right on 213. So they drove by and just,
Why? I'm sorry that happened.
I know. It was it just makes me mad because why can't people just mind their own business?
And how's Pride been for you so far?
Oh, it's great. I love it. I just went to Canby Pride, and so it's fun. I love it.
One of the things that I've said ad nauseum today is that anytime you go to a Pride event, you just can't help but feel welcome and loved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they didn't have one when Stu was mayor. They should have started. I was telling the ladies over there, I said, when Stu was mayor, why didn't they? Stu should have been starting it up.
It's probably a little bit more complicated than we know.
I know. Well, because there was more hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
People didn't understand it all.
I think we're finally getting to a place where more people are accepting than people aren't accepting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think more people realize that, really there's a lot of gay people. And so you probably know somebody that is, even if you don't think you do, or you're related to somebody. And and it's everybody, but then they just never knew. They just didn't think about it. I know a lot. I just have friends that just never thought about it. That, oh yeah, well, so-and-so's gay. Oh, well, yeah, but
doesn't change them as a human being.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, I love my gay friends really well.
I love relate to that.
And my gay relatives are the best. Oh,
It's
gosh.
kind of funny. I was talking to my friends the other day. I have way more friends that are part of the LGBTQ community than I have straight friends. There's nothing bad or good about that. It's just one of those realizations. Well, that's interesting.
Well, and being in the United Church of Christ, when you go to church meetings, almost everybody there is LGBTQ because they're accepted there. And I'm just so used to that. And I just love all the people that I know there.
And it's different when you have a church that says they're affirming and accepting, and you go to a church where people of the community are actually in the clergy or in part of leadership, where people know that it's a safe space to go.
It is.
And worship.
We had a couple, a gay couple that started coming to our church, and a lot of people aren't even aware that there's a church like the United Church of Christ and other churches that are open and affirming. And and then like Beaver Creek Church put us right out on their sign, and then their windows got broken with a baseball bat.
But it's a difference, right? Because my experience with church growing up was not a very affirming and welcoming church.
Right.
And it was kind of across the board too. So it wasn't just that they were anti-gay or anti-whatever. It was actually very hierarchical, and it was very competitive, and everybody was out to sort of outposition each other.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not very Christ-like.
Well, and the Congregational Church and the United Church of Christ was one of the first churches to ordain women as well.
Yeah.
And so, it's just like, that's how I grew up. That's how I have always been. And a pacifist and wanted to help everybody and love everybody. And so then why can't women do this and why can't women do that? I'm an old hippie from the 60s, and I said we had to go through all that stuff where women couldn't do this and women couldn't do that.
Which I never understood. Like why you could have a spot where it's like only men can do this job. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
I know it was the stupidest thing, and they had the reasons they made up for it were even stupider.
Yeah, because
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, even now, like all of the messaging that you see on TV, I think would make us to believe we're a lot more divided than we really are.
I think so too.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to be successful in life. We're trying to be happy. We're trying to live our lives in the most authentic way possible. And anything we can do from any entity should be just to support
exactly.
That.
Yeah.
I think if we start that, we can get so much better in this.
When I taught school for 40 years, so I just, that's what I taught the kids. You just have to love everybody and accept everybody. And I didn't allow any, name calling or rude things going on or any of it, because that's how I am.
And that's so important, right?
It is.
It's modeling something to the kids, and they pick up on that. Like people don't understand. Well, I don't know if people maybe do understand, but kids are so impressionable that if you provide that platform and you're being bigoted around them, they're going to pick that up.
Right.
And so anything we can do to stop that cycle.
Exactly. I know. Well, I've been working on it pretty much my whole life because I grew up in the United Church of Christ. So that's how,
Yeah. So what is a typical church service like?
Pretty much like every other.
On a band, or is it?
No, we don't have bands. We have an organ. My brother-in-law plays the organ and the piano. We have a grand piano, beautiful grand piano that somebody donated to the church, and a great, nice new organ. The church is 150, 60 years old. I forget how.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that started the church, the relatives are still there. Their relatives are still there. And they wanted to they became a congregational church because they wanted women to be able to have offices in the church. And that was way back in 1893 when they started. And so, that's how it is. So it's great.
That's actually really awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people a lot of people don't, maybe they know about the Congregational Church, but a lot of people don't know about the United Church of Christ because they just, only time you hear about it is when they're out at a riot or something. I said we're always going, but First Congregational in downtown Portland and First Congregational in Salem, they're both really nice big churches.
Yeah. And like one of my good friends is on the path to being a deacon at a church, and she's a member of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And just watching her be able to go through that journey, and just like so not only just proud of her for being able and doing what she's doing, but just so happy that she gets that opportunity. I know.
Well, it's so just foreign to me. I've been in the UCC so long that it's just foreign to me to not accept everybody. And I just, that you couldn't be a pastor if you were coming out LGBTQ. I just can't even, it just doesn't even make sense to me.
Because if you're looking about it, like if you're thinking about it in the way, the traditional sense, all that should matter is, are you doing the teachings and are you going by what the Bible says? Mm-hmm.
And we've even had classes that talked about the Bible and the verses that everybody uses to say that LGBTQ is wrong, what they really meant, and that if you take them out of context, you can make them mean anything. Anything in the Bible works like that.
Yeah.
So what can I say?
Yeah.
And so, that people, it didn't mean that, and then, it was written how many thousands of years ago. So then women weren't in the same place, as they are now.
Yeah. It's 2025. We should be able to change with the times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some people, I guess.
That's very true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So have you been around the whole place yet?
No, I haven't been. It's great. I stopped over there and talked to my church people, and I looked around and talked to some other people. So it's great. I'm so glad they're having one this year.
Oh, you and me both. And I'm seeing so many people from so many different cultures and so many different communities all sort of coming together and supporting. It's just been
I'm surprised Stu didn't start one when he was mayor.
Yeah. I should have asked the mayor about that. I had the current mayor on the podcast.
Because everybody loves Stu. They would have done whatever Stu said.
Yeah.
We love to come to the Silverton Theater and visit with Stu.
Well, thank you very much. I really
you're welcome.
It. Yeah. And where can people go find information about your church?
The booth for Smyrna United Church of Christ is just the next one over. Can
you spell?
SMYRNA.
Smyrna,
yes. Mm-hmm. And it was named after the place in the Holy Land that needed a church. So they got a church. And it is 100, and I don't know, I forget how many. It's 180, I think, probably. And it's on Highway 170 between Canby and Molalla. Canby and Monitor.
And we welcome anybody that walks through the door.
Yes, we love everybody. And we don't, everybody that walks in the door. And we all wear rainbows to church.
I love it. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
My ex-husband's family's all gay, so we do. We have to go. And and my one brother-in-law's partner, he passed away, and we just still miss him so much. He was the most wonderful man in the whole world, and he died. Anyways, it was so. I said we miss Joe so much.
Yeah.
It's just awful. So that's just like, but I grew up that way, so that's how it goes. Everybody should.
I agree.
Yeah, you'll have to go down there and talk. You're so cute. I know.
Oh, that's awesome. Come on in.
I've sat on a few podcasts. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, we're gonna be yeah. Hey.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube and Facebook Live.
I love it. I love it.
So, Mitch, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting down.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
We've been talking to all the people here today about like why it's so important to support Pride. And as a sponsor, first of all, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
What was I prompted your sponsorship?
So I own a media production company here in Marion County. My home is actually located in Silverton. And so it was just kind of a no-brainer to support this event, especially we actually came on board very early in the announcement. I think I was traveling for one of our larger clients, and wife sent something to me saying, "Hey, they're looking for business support," and I'm like, "Cool, let's send a message and get in touch because it just aligns with our belief system."
Yeah.
And just trying to represent or help represent equality and back that, especially in today's day and age. So that's why we're here.
I really appreciate that, because like I've been saying it all day, and I'll say it again. Like it just every Pride event I've ever been to has been nothing but wonderful, and it's just all about love and acceptance.
Yeah, it's serene here. The vibe is it's great. People are happy. The weather. I mean, talk about like luck out, right? Like it's warm, but like in this park, it's shaded, so it's not like we're not maxing anybody's hydration ability, right? But yeah, the environment's it's amazing. It's just good vibes all around. Really cool business support.
Yeah.
Getting like since we came in, like got involved very early, watching it grow because I'd heard that there was concerns that they may not get enough support right from the community, and it's overwhelmingly supported. And it seemed to compound. Like once you get your first couple, I think that helps snowball it. Yeah. And I mean, just to see where it's at now for its first one for the city, it's rad to be a part of, and like to witness, just to forget like supporting it from the formal end, like just to being here to witness this is pretty damn cool.
And it's on the other end too, right? It's really important for people who are part of that community to see the business support.
Yes, I agree. To create that environment of acceptance, that everyone's welcome here. I think it now more than ever, it's important to stand for that, and it's represented here.
And Silverton is one of those rare communities where it's a small town, but it's not exclusionary small town. Does that make sense?
I travel a lot around our country, and I could speak for ages on that when you're going to some of these rural areas and some of the belief systems that you see there. Silverton has, and from quite a while, like what drew us out of Portland to a smaller area was that it's just pretty well rounded here.
Yeah.
And I think that's represented by like what you see here today, which is good. I mean, you could see those shifts any which direction, and I'm glad that Silverton's still trying to hold true to that, and it makes me proud to be here.
So what prompted your idea to support this?
I mean, it aligns. So as a business owner, you get this opportunity, right, to choose what you support and what messages you want to put out. And I mean, this just aligns with who we are as a small core group at my company. It aligns with what we want to be known for in supporting an ally to this community.
Yeah.
And like what better way to do that than to stamp your name on it, and to put some sponsorship dollars towards it. Like I said, it wasn't a debate at all. Just like I didn't know this was coming to the town, and it was great. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, how can I help out more? So.
And I think that's important for people to hear that, right? Because one of the things they talk ad nauseum about this on this podcast is how important it is to support the local businesses and the local business community, because like every dollar you invest here stays here.
Yep.
And it's so important to shop local, support local, and because like the national guys, they don't need your help.
Nope.
It's the small companies that built the backbone of this community that needs all the support they can get.
I think small business needs it more now than ever.
100%.
Whether people realize it or not.
Yeah.
You know.
There's we lost so many small businesses in COVID, and it's just now. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but as I've done this podcast this last year, I'm starting to see more and more small businesses start up and come back. And it's very hopeful for me.
Yeah, I feel, the wax and wane, COVID, I think, taught us how fragile everything is. And we were around and actually growing through COVID, but like the strategies we learned through that are the reason I think that we're still here. But you have to be adaptable. And like as a media production company, we can go any which way. We focus on specializing telling people stories, brand stories, that kind of thing. So we were pretty lucky to be adaptable with that. But you see so many other things, restaurants, stuff like that, they just come and go.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing about the area and Oregon in general is it's really cool to get to see carts very popular, right? That is not always the case around the country for that. So that makes it a little bit more obtainable for these restaurants to come back. If they go away, they can come back in a smaller scale or starts without having to commit to stuff. So at a larger thing of like, hey, you got to buy or rent a brick and mortar to start that. So
yeah, because it provides that pathway. Because restaurants are so expensive.
Oh yeah, and they're fragile, right?
Yeah.
Like all the perishable food and stuff like that. And if you're not selling everything that you're buying, you're in trouble.
And I used to work for the Restaurant Association back in the day. And one of the things that always surprised me is if you talk to the consultants and the people that have been in the restaurants, they say 75% of all restaurants fail within 3 years.
Yep, it's a pretty high failure rate. It's stuff that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
Another reason to go out and eat local, right?
Mm-hmm.
Support those small folks that are trying to, keep a roof over their head, keep their people paid, So
they've invested so much to bring that to you.
Yep.
Like, let's go support that.
And you see that for this event. There's a bunch of places that we're doing lunch specials, things like that for all of this, which is super cool. Like another way of just like bringing it all together for the community and supporting one another. You see that evidence right here in today's get together. So,
and can you explain in your philosophy why it's so important to have safe spaces?
Equal rights, it should be this common concept that's like fundamentally applicable to everybody, but I don't know if that's really the case anymore. And so we need to come together as a community and like just anything to get us all together in one space to just to exist and be and like feel safe to be who you are, I think is worth every bit of risk to do. And maybe it's because I'm getting older. I'm knocking on 40. So like, and I have a child, like you're getting sentimental and all these things. Like in your 20s, you may not have like been as charged or even worried about, but then you're like, man, life is fragile. It's short.
Yeah.
We need to be investing our time wisely and trying to build everybody up around us because that just makes the space so much better. Right. I'm not the biggest fan of individualism anymore. And the country definitely leans that way, not to go all crazy and political, but it definitely feels like it's just me versus you. And that's never been our outlook. As we continue to grow as a company, I always look for opportunities to like build things up, sponsor new things, bring people along with us in those journeys. And like we're lucky because like we're so invested in visual arts and storytelling that like I can create stuff that helps you experience that. It's no longer just me on a microphone talking to you about like all these theoretical stuff. Like we have proof of being able to do some of that, and we're very lucky because of it. But like still taking that whole belief system and like putting it into action as well. That's just something that's a core principle. So
yeah, it's one of the things that I always found confusing is that we have this sort of culture of this individualized sort of you're on your own, you can do it yourself, but yet the worst form of punishment is to isolate somebody.
Yes. We have studies on that, like showing
how is that those two messages can exist in the same timeline. Because as people, we need other people. Like we are a collectivist society.
Yeah.
We can't exist Like somebody has to build this microphone, somebody has to make this chair, and we just get so far removed from understanding just how much we rely on someone else to get through the day that it like I just don't understand why we don't have more of a collectivist culture.
Yeah, and I wish I had an answer for that. Like that's one of those deep things that like you could ponder for your entire life.
Forever.
People are doing it, right? They have been. Like we're not the first to sit there and try to figure that out. But I mean, I think it goes back to like doing what you're capable or able to do in your own little sphere to create that sense of community. And then obviously, hopefully having those spheres overlap with other people, same mind type thing or like-minded people. I think that's how you can start to bridge that gap.
Yeah, because like when I first started talking to people about doing the podcast here, and it was actually the reason I went ahead and just said, you know what, I'm going to do it. The first response was from somebody online was saying, let them have their day. And I'm like,
typical.
Oh, no. Like, no, this is about them, sure. But everybody should be here supporting.
I agree.
So like, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm going.
The age of internet warriors is definitely upon us. I mean, it's been here for a while. And then everybody feels, oh, we should have rebuttals for this. It's even better just to let them sit and stew. Like, don't give them the time of day.
Yeah.
Don't, because that's ultimately what they want is some level of engagement out of that. So, not surprised. Seen it before. Had to deal with it on the PR side of things. We'll leave the internet warriors to themselves and still come out and celebrate with pride, with honor, and show people that there is community still here. It can't be torn down so easily.
Yeah, most of the time, we're fake people anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, not real people, So.
And it seems like the not real people have the most voices on social media. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, they're usually the ones that are the most amplified, I feel.
Yeah.
That's just the way modern social media works.
Yeah. So how can people get a hold of your company? So
our Instagram at _Melee Media. It's MELE Media. And Facebook, same thing. Websites, meleemedia.net. We're around. We do a lot of political ad stuff now lately, which is an odd arena for us, but we're creating ads in the government realm. We do small business work. We do stuff for high-end athletes in the motorsport world. So we're kind of diversified and all over the place. So they can follow us along, see what we're up to. Do a lot of women in motorsport stuff now, which is kind of fun too. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
That was really good.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like I said, I love.
Yeah.
So, thanks for having me.
Of course. Almost. All right. Come on in.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, good.
Can I get your name?
Caden.
Caden, I'm Shawn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Shawn.
So we'll get here.
There we go.
Ooh. And I'm here with Caden.
Yep.
What brings you to Pride?
Mainly because I volunteered for GSA's face painting and nail painting stand.
Oh, that's awesome. How did you find out about Pride here in Silverton?
This GSA really. It's one of the clubs in my own high school I go to. I'll say the third one I go to often. The first one is D&D and then theater.
Yeah.
Because I'm a theater kid or theater man, I should say, at heart.
Yeah. So one of the things that I appreciate about the schools now is that they have places like GSA.
Yeah.
How important is a place like that for you?
I would say it allows me to be more my inner self.
Yeah.
And connected, and especially many of those people there are people who I know a lot, and it allows me to build these connections further.
And so, like, you're here at this event. Like, how has it been so far?
It's amazing. Like, I met a lot of friends who come here, and it's a wonderful time.
And one of the things that I've been talking to a lot of people about, especially today, is just how important it is for representation and how important it is for a safe space like this to exist.
Yep.
Because you need to know that your community supports you, and just how much of a difference that makes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm also on the autism spectrum. And have a huge hyperfixation with dinosaurs.
I love it. How did you come across that?
My dinosaur hyperfixation began, I think, when I was 5 in preschool.
Yeah.
And there's this one time where my preschool, we did the dinosaur thing, and when I saw them, I didn't know they existed. And when as my brain thought, hey, that's cool. That's our new hyperfixation. And voila.
I love it. I'm autistic myself, and sometimes those hyperfixations what gets you through life sometimes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I think this dinosaur hyperfixation that I still have to this very day allows me to be an artist myself and a world builder by heart. And then planning to be a paleontologist to help use my knowledge. And then a producer / director to make dinosaur films. And an author to, again, make dinosaur books.
That's so awesome. Have you been to I've Got Rocks in My Head?
Yeah, I think so. It's the one downtown?
It's the one downtown.
Yes. Yes. I've been there.
Yeah, okay. Because, like, if you're wanting to get into the fossil world, she can give you pathways.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Monday will work for me.
Yeah.
My schedule. True, I'll be gone on Tuesday and until
they'll be there until whenever. So you don't have to put on your priority list yet, but
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go there Monday.
That's so awesome.
Yep.
And so when did you receive your diagnosis, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't remember when, but my mom did when I was very little.
Yeah. And so have you been in like supports the whole time?
I've been in support for, I think, a little bit in my elementary school years and of course preschool, and then I'm now free.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I didn't have any supports either.
I didn't have much supports now, and I don't really need any.
Yeah.
I have friends and other people, and I am in my own school. I'm maybe one of the most popular students of my age.
That's so awesome. Because I did not have the same experience in school. And just the fact that somebody can have that sort of support, I love it.
Yeah, and it's all mainly because of my knowledge of dinosaurs. And everyone wants to know about dinosaurs and such, and they know who to talk to.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Euteranus, and the species Euteranus holly.
Okay.
A species of large proceratosaurid, feathered, from early Cretaceous of what is now in China in the Yixian Formation.
And I think one of the things that surprised me most about dinosaurs in particular is that I didn't realize they were feathered.
Yeah.
That's kind of a newer sort of philosophy.
Yeah, I think
right?
The first feathered non-avilanan dinosaur was Sinosauropteryx, which was this, like, with actual evidence, was discovered in in the 1990s.
Oh, interesting.
So around the same decade as Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I think maybe in the same year too. I don't remember. But feathered dinosaurs, however, they've been speculated for a much longer time since the dawn of the dinosaur renaissance with Deinonychus. And the oldest feathered dinosaur artworks I remember, I think, were from Gregory S. Paul, which I have many of those in one of my books.
So who's Gregory S. Paul?
He's one of the paleontologists who has a few criticisms related to bunching together a bunch of dinosaur taxa and separating a few. Like, he's the one who proposed the idea of Tyrannosaurus imperator, Tyrannosaurus regina, and of course, having T-Rex as T-Rex.
Right.
And there's, of course, a lot of things that don't make sense for the split Tyrannosaurus proposal. But we now know Tyrannosaurus has at least 2 species. Forget the second species, but it's older than Tyrannosaurus rex, and it's, I think, from New Mexico or Texas.
Interesting. That's fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah, and then Tyrannosaurus rex, it's pretty much it's a widespread species from, I think, like 67ish or so, and 68 million years ago, and until the end of Cretaceous.
Okay. That's so awesome. Mm-hmm. And so, what are you planning on doing? You said paleontology after school.
Yeah.
How is that? Is that a program that's something like at U of O or?
I'm looking for a college right now, and I think in the University of California could work because I think it may be nearby where I usually would stay down south at my grandparents' house in Elk Grove.
Yeah.
Which Elk Grove is in California, it's a small town, but compared to the rest of Oregon cities, it's as big as Salem, like population wise.
Okay. So it's big as Salem, but in California, it's called small.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like an interesting community.
Yeah, and my neighborhood down there, we are pretty nice and we have a lot of fun.
So are you originally from Oregon?
Yeah, I'm pretty much an Oregonian by heart.
That's
and
awesome. Mm-hmm.
Genetics, quote unquote.
Oh, I see the dinosaur on here.
Oh, yeah.
Who drew that?
It's one that stands further down here.
So there's face painting here. There's music.
Yeah.
There's vendors.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. They have a sensory room right across the way, but I'm not sure how good it is.
It's just, I think you just draw stuff and such. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Does your school have a sensory place for you?
I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't really go there anyways.
Yeah.
However, one thing I mostly do free time or not is first off, I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
For those who are listening, Dimeboy Studios, DIN 0 BOY1 and then Studios if you know how to spell that.
Yeah.
If not, autocorrect or something could help you.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing that?
My YouTube channel has been running up for 10 years since I was little.
That's so awesome.
And it's slow. Our progress is slow, and I'm working on a video for one of my many Spectre Evolution projects.
Yeah.
One, if the KBG mass extinction event, aka the extinction that killed off the dinosaurs, what if that was lessened? And unlike our timeline, which the asteroid struck in the Yucatan Peninsula in June.
Yeah.
And this timeline is struck in the middle of the South Pacific in December. And that changes a lot because and also the asteroid was smaller than the size of Manhattan. So not as big as the one that killed off the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And also, but there's a lot of things that happen. So Yucatan Peninsula, pretty much with the asteroid impact 66 million years ago, it helped booster in further deformation of the Caribbean plate. And in fact, I think changed tectonics forever. So pretty much North American plate, South American plate began to collide with the Caribbean plate, which is why South America and North America connected around 2 million years ago with the infamous of Panama, which they now somewhat separate again because politics. And thinking. And then on the other side of the world, around where India was at a time, which it was an island out in the Indian Ocean, nearby Madagascar, and there's a super volcanic site called the Deccan Traps. And it erupted several times, in fact, before the KPG as well. And I think potentially one of its biggest booms occurred from the asteroid because of the asteroid. And that changes a lot in tectonics, including the formation of the Somali plate, which is why there's a rift in Africa. So essentially, if you want to imagine a world where situations of the Cretaceous Paleogene mass extinction event is altered, South America is either going to be isolated or connected to Antarctica. India, Africa, India, is either Africa's included with Eurasia. Africa still has some of the same lands we are, just without the rift, and then or India is either going to be isolated or colliding with Eurasia, and then however, no Somali plate, Caribbean plate is a bit different, maybe growing bigger, who knows?
Yeah.
And then what else? North America is also probably going to move further north. In fact, the potential chance of North America literally covering the North Pole.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So all of that changed with that impact of that asteroid.
Yeah.
That sort of shift the whole planet.
Yes, and that was also a recent paper that was published several months ago, I think.
Yeah.
Or several weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when.
I get that. Mm-hmm. Time. My memory's not linear.
Yeah.
So part of the way my autism manifests is my memory is tied to emotional events. So I can remember what happened, but I can't tell you when.
Yeah, sometimes like I remember certain facts and such. Like my mind is very much adapted to remembering facts.
Yeah. Yeah. And extreme pattern recognition for me too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I'll see something like a situation like I've seen this before. I know exactly how this is going to react or how it's going to work. And you see the person or your friend not making the right choice, and it's like, anyway. Mm-hmm.
My pattern recognition isn't fully spot on, I would say, though.
Mm-hmm.
However, but in nature, it's much more efficient.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Well, thank you very much for the podcast.
You're welcome.
Today. I love your nails, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just got them painting in the nail painting / face paint booth.
Yeah.
That was volunteering in.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming out today, and it was a pleasure to know you.
Yep, and I recommend checking for folks who are still listening or such. I recommend still checking out Dino One Studios.
Yeah, please. It's DINO.
DIN0.
DIN0.
BOY1.
BOY1 Studios.
Yeah.
Dino 0. Okay. You got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And have a great day, everyone.
You too. All right, y'all, I'm taking a break. We will be back in probably half an hour. I mean, listen for some of the people. We'll grab a few. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good.
You want to go for some better?
I've done my time on the air.
Like 5 hours worth. Awesome. All right, I'll be back.
Bigger ones, so it's there.
Shawn just bought this cake for Ed.
Somewhat. I'm kind of new today. Well, we've been here for a really big sale. So I know for the news cycles and yes. I know. I know. Maybe people went purple specifically, unless it was the same color, or often it was two colors. Yes. So you're live? Are you live still? So we're doing your tour. Use your phone?
Yeah.
Break it already? Yeah, we were talking last night. Yeah. Okay, so what's going on?
So basically, I've got the two microphones, and I've got them on a splitter so that I go one mixer to one laptop for YouTube. And this one goes to Facebook Live. But I had to do a split so I had the same audio feed and the same levels. But I tried to do it on one laptop, and it just did not like.
And you prefer doing like a whole mixer instead of just a USB like audio interface?
So with the USB audio interfaces, it cuts out too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They haven't perfected how it sort of the sound comes out. So like when I do my remote podcast and I use the mic that's plugged in via the USB-C,
Yeah, maybe I can. Maybe I'll
it's just the sound quality. It's just not
do that for you, but I'll seriously no. I'll go. Yeah, I have a Shure SM7B, which is like the standard broadcast mic. Down, I guess.
See, I don't have that.
And I just plug into a Scarlett, 2-channel Scarlett, which is like the cheapest audio. I love it. Good luck. Really. And I have no problem, but I'm not doing live.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that
it's possible.
And plus, you have way more adjustment if you have that, right? Like the Scarlett's got just your gain, basically, but that's got something to do in it too.
I don't use it.
And you have 4 channels too, so you can like have a lot more flexibility. What mics are you using?
I've got the Shure ones on there now. I just got them. Yeah.
Did you get the MP7s, the cheaper ones?
Sure.
I'll just sit there and be cool.
Yeah. Those are pretty nice. So, like, I got those because that's like the cheaper version of the SM7B, and they totally work for you.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're doing distorted vocals for music, you need the other one. It's such bullshit, man. They're like basically the same thing, and I would thought for sure, like, for this, it's perfect. You don't need anything more than that. But like when I went to do my streams, it like totally blew it out. Like I couldn't turn them down low enough that it wasn't working out. It's so weird. Like whatever the diaphragm inside that thing, it's just way too sensitive or something. I don't know, man. But yeah, those are great.
And I really like this particular podcast.
It's all digital.
Yeah, but also you've got more features.
Nice. Okay, because it's a touchscreen.
Yeah.
So you have gesture faders there, but then yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Very nice.
I like it.
So much gear.
I know, right?
So much gear.
I'm going to go around and see if there's any other vendors.
Go do your business.
I started it. By the time I got it set up, it was like I can't because it's tied to the help.
Take my phone.
How's it going? Hello. So I want to be on a podcast. I appreciate it. Where's your podcast? Attention. Yeah. Yeah. Very deliberate. So, like, you know, I'm sure goes into it. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go out.
I was just there the day West Program. Were you in town? Were you? It was awesome. It was awesome. Whole town just out. Yeah. Take out the protest. It's like they just
Five, four. Sometimes it children are still here. Granddaughter when she starts having a problem.
Yeah, this one. This is
Because they're playing, and yeah, I like your yeah. My sister's like on the ground. Great idea.
I've never done this. Ah, I love it. All right.
So we're here at the Silverton Pride. I'm with Russell. I just ran into you and you were telling me about Perfect Arrangements.
Yes, it is a play set in the 1950s, and it has to do with the lavender scare, but it's done in a comical way, like the sitcoms of the like the I Love Lucy type sitcoms. It is about two same-sex couples that work for the government, and they marry each other's spouses. They live in townhomes right next to each other, where they conveniently cut out a hole between the closets. And so they come home as heterosexual couples, but get to live behind the scenes in their authentic selves. And it kind of goes through the turmoil. They work for the government, looking for all of the deviants, all the loose women and LGBT people and all the others that are out there. And it's a real comedy type historic play. And it's at Brush Creek Playhouse in Silverton here. It's the big red schoolhouse on Silverton Road between Salem and Silverton. And it's from, we opened last night, June 27th, and it goes for 3 weekends till July 13th. And we have shows Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This week, because of 4th of July, we will have a show on Thursday night and not on 4th of July. But other than that, and it's tickets are $15 general admission, and then it's $12 for seniors, $10 for children. There is some explicit language. Very briefly, the worst you're going to see is a couple same-sex kisses, nothing lewd or anything like that. We say that because we have been rumored that we may be protested as the Pride event was here. They have not showed up, so we think we're in the clear. Yeah. So, but if you can come to tonight's show, which is the 28th tonight, or tomorrow, Sunday at 2 p.m. If you go to the counter and you tell them Happy Pride, you will get a $10 ticket instead of a $15 ticket. So it'll save you some money, but it is fun. I'm the director of the show and also in it. And I don't do too many shows where I do both, but it's been fun. Yeah.
So to tell people, because some people may not even know what the lavender scare is.
Okay, so the lavender scare was in the 50s, in the McCarthyism times of our history. Basically, what would happen is the government, in fact, the story is based on real historic events, and the two of the main characters work for the government, and their job was to look for this is during the Red Scare and all that time frame, and so they would look for people who were what they called the deviants or the perverts of the time. And so any women that might be more free, more loose, as they would say, or the otherization of people, LGBT people and so forth, they were called the deviants, the perverts, those type of things. And they would essentially fire them from their government jobs and make their lives totally unreasonable and ruin their lives essentially. And so you'd get they would not be employable, and some they would go to asylums and things like that. And part of our back history, some of what's interesting about this play is that some of what happened back then can be very related to what's going on in the world nowadays.
100%, yeah.
So it's kind of funny. We pick our plays, and this is our 50th anniversary year, and we pick our plays. So this play was picked a little over maybe like a year and a half ago, and so it's funny how timely it actually comes into play. Our theater is celebrating 50 years. We've been in the community. We were the Silverton Players, and now we have been now for a while Silverton or Brush Creek Playhouse Players, and so people can find information on our website about our upcoming shows and auditions. We're a volunteer organization. We're all nonprofit as well. And it's brushcreekplayhouse.org or .com will get you there either way. But
because people don't understand, like, it's not that long ago where there was literally an executive order that said if you were a member of the LGBTQ community, you had to lose your federal job. That was legit.
Yeah, and people, and there's still some states where it is legal that they can still fire you in places in your job for that. The interesting about it, the fact about it too, is that it was still considered a mental illness back in those days too, which is
like 1980
something like that. Yeah, and so it's interesting the times, they've changed, and then yet they haven't changed in some ways. So it's kind of interesting. And
it's very interesting to me too, like, because in some respects we have come a long way. And in other respects, we're still kind of archaic in the way we treat people.
Yeah. In my previous life, I used to run an LGBT organization for about 20 years, and I lived in Texas, in the Texas area, did a lot of stuff in the South. And it's amazing to me, like we have moved forward in some ways, but still, like, just basic things are still big issues. And especially in now times, it doesn't really, it doesn't matter your political affiliation at this point. There's this otherization that's going on.
100%.
And it's sad, because the reality is, it's a cliche, a lot of people say, but love does win at the end. I mean, if it conquers all, doesn't matter how the story, every fairy tale, everything you hear. I want to believe that that's what's going to be the case in the future, but sometimes it's hard. This play, especially the character I play in it, there's a moment where he's talking about, he's a school teacher in the 50s, and so he's talking about how he sees his other LGBT students, and how if it's this bad for them in the 50s, how bad it's going to be for them. And obviously, being that this is modern times now, but playing that role, not a lot has changed. And yet there have been changes. It's great to see that young people are definitely more comfortable with being themselves. So that aspect, I am happy that we've had those changes, but there's still so much more we need to do, just as a society. And and people, bottom line is, at this point, people just need to get a life and worry about their own families and the things that are going on. There's just bigger issues in the world than, who somebody chooses to love.
Yeah.
It's just,
And it takes so much more effort.
If they
stand up and fight against something.
Exactly. And if they spent that same energy on something that was to be kind, or to change the world, or to have love back. I mean, just imagine the world we could have.
I think about it often.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I've been dedicated to, especially in the last couple of years, is just to kindness and positivity. And it surprises to me that the piece that surprises me most is just how disconnected mainstream media is from the realities of people. Because I don't think we're as divisive collectively as the media thinks we are.
I would like to think that we aren't, but sometimes it's hard too, because we've got these wonderful little things that are called devices that keep us from saying hello to each other. Saying hello is done by a social media thing now, and it's not the same. And people need hugs, and people need to know, like, hey, how's it going, and have that, not talk to somebody while they're sitting there. Oh yeah, you just need those human connections, because that's what makes the world work. And we've gone so far from that, and we're much more alike than we are different. And I don't know what it takes, other than I try to myself. I just try to live a very kind and positive life, and try to see the upside of things, but it's difficult sometimes.
Because it's interesting that certain voices that are almost kind of counter to humankind are the ones that are elevated. Because like this whole idea of an individualistic culture, and you're doing everything by yourself, or how you're supposed to, like, that's not real.
No.
Like, there's nothing that gets you through this day that wasn't made, touched, whatever, by somebody
else. Yeah.
And so, like, just taking a moment to realize that and say how much we rely on each other to get through every single day, this world would be so much of a better place.
Oh, it would be. That brings me, or reminds me of, like, what you're saying is that's how it is for, like, casts. When we get a cast of actors together, it is because you're with this group for anywhere, from 10 to 10 weeks or so, and you're going through this process, you're playing roles that sometimes are very emotional roles, and so forth. You become very bonded. But if we're on stage, we can't do the show without everybody's participation in it. And it's kind of the same way in life, if people think about it. It's you think about people who don't have simple things, like, just I always my niece and nephew, I tell them all the time things like, just be kind to people, smile at them, tell them hello. It may be the only smile they get that day, but it might change just the way the rest of their life or that day goes for them. And I try to do that, and I wish the world could do that and make that a habit, instead of the picking and elevating, the otherization, or the negatives that are in the world. We don't need that anymore, and we've seen where that goes. And we need more positivity. So,
and one of the things that I actually like doing is I have kindness coins. And I see somebody out in the community doing something kind. I love just going up to them, thanking them for being kind, give them a kindness coin, and then just walk away.
Yeah, it's and it's so funny. A couple of years ago here in Silverton, we had a big ice storm, and a lot of people lost power and so forth. And my mom was visiting from California, first time she had come up here, and I had just gone to Costco, got a bunch of food, the whole bit, and I didn't want it to go bad. So we, like, literally in the freezing cold, were barbecuing food, and we just handed it out to people. And it was amazing to me how many people were shocked that somebody would do something. And to me, I'm like, it's just what you do. And if everybody just gave a little kindness in the world, just think about how much better it would be. So.
And one of the things, too, that I also want to include in this conversation, especially around theater, is just how inclusive and welcoming theater is.
Yeah. So for me, I was like a typical most people, some people who are in theater, like in high school and junior high, things like that. We have this thing when we become adults, for some reason, we give up things. What happened to our dreams that we put in boxes and sit in the attic type of thing. And so it was 30 years before I jumped back into theater, and I've been with Brush Creek for about 3 years now. And it was terrifying, of course, but the family that you create with each cast, I mean, there are people that I have known all my life that don't know me as well as people I've known for one show. And we truly are there for each other, and you witness and you see, and there's, there's love, there's pain, there's things that we see in everybody's life, and it is really a community, and it does save people. It sounds so cliche at times, but it does save our lives in a lot of ways. It gets us away from to play parts and to be things that aren't going on in our own life, and tell stories, and live in that little bit of fantasy world of being somebody else for a moment. It really does help you actually become yourself, even.
Yeah.
And you relate to characters in some way or another, and you surprise yourself. So it is very, very it's a loving community, and we're always looking for people. We are a community theater. Even if you've never acted before, there is a place for you here in our theater, and we will work with you. Even if you don't even want to be in on stage, you want to do lighting or sets or anything that, costuming, all that stuff, there's a place. And if you're just feeling alone out there, come and volunteer with us, and you'll have you'll gain a family. You really truly will. A community. So,
and one of the things I always recommend to parents with kids who are neurodivergent is have them join a theater group.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because parallel play is so important for people on the spectrum. And what I love about theater is it gives them a chance to exist in parallel play, where they can do the set design, they can help with costumes, and not have to actively take part in the acting if they don't want to.
Right.
There's so many avenues and so many ways to support and be a part of that community. And it doesn't matter which part you take on, the entire community accepts you.
Right. And it's all creativity. It's all being able to go out there and create something and have fun with something, and people will appreciate it and love it, and it transports people for a few hours when they come and see a show to somewhere else. And theater really is, I mean, that's why there's a reason why it's been around forever, and it was done in ancient times, because it was an escapism, but it also taught people, it taught things like tolerance and stories, and everything starts with words on a piece of paper. And so it's kind of it's very fulfilling. And you mentioned the for kids on the spectrum and so forth. We do a kids play. It's open to everybody. We do one every year, and sometimes we do two, and it's open to everybody. And the diversity that we try, we accept everybody there. It is truly a home. We want you. We want you. We want all what I call the sort of, we want the theater freaks, but we also want those people that are just feel alone. It's like there's a place for you here, and you meet so many incredible people,
and a place without judgment.
Exactly. Oh yeah, everybody can be who they are. There's no hiding. There's no need to feel like you have to be something else. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, or what you are, what status you have. It doesn't matter. It's a community that really is accepting. Yeah.
So how can people find out more information about your theater?
Well, the first thing you can do is go to our website, which is brushcreekplayhouse.org or .com. Either one will get you there. You can always email us through there. We're on all the social medias. We're on Facebook and formerly Twitter X, and Instagram, all that kind of stuff under Brush Creek Playhouse in Silverton, California, or Oregon. Sorry, let's go California, but Silverton, Oregon, and we just celebrated our 50th anniversary, and we hope to be here for another 50 years and then some. So,
and if you haven't had a chance to check the theater out, you should go, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you.
Yeah. So now, what does this go to?
So yeah, it's live on Facebook and YouTube right now.
Okay.
But afterwards, I'll probably cut it and it'll be on Spotify and a bunch of others.
Okay.
Actually, I'll give you my card.
Perfect.
If you send me a message, I'll send you a link so you can watch yourself.
Okay.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
And anytime we do shows, we'll call you. Maybe
Yeah,
we can-
please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We still got to do our podcast episode. Yes, we do.
No, that was one.
Yes.
No, that was a gentle one.
I just had to the story is out there. How was the Raven Kings?
I know, right?
That'll get to go out to dinner afterwards and tell us.
Yes.
Not today.
I also have at home. I did not do to bring, but I have at home. Is that what this station is over here?
So now you're tired.
Oh yeah, he's boots because I just walked him. Yeah. Are you all done? Oh yeah, bubblegum's great. Bubblegum's delicious.
How's it going? You guys the podcast?
I'm good, but what is so tough?
So we started the podcast about a year ago.
Just a long one.
Here today, supporting Pride.
Sounds so good right now. Big fat sandwich.
Are you based on like
Yeah. I record on Mondays in Salem and then Fridays I record down a studio in Salem. Actually, starting in July.
That is my.
Such a good man.
Yeah, no, for real.
Oh, it smells amazing.
You know what? I don't think she's necessarily. I think she wants to try.
Can I get your name?
Max.
Max. I love it. Come on, have a seat. Right? All right. So we're back live from Pride Silverton. This is Mags.
Hello.
Mags, what brings you to Pride this week?
I live here in Silverton and it's my community, and I think it's cool that we're doing a Pride Festival. It's a really small town, and so you don't expect that. And you usually go to the big cities, but I think it's important to have these kinds of events in smaller towns so people recognize, hey, queer people exist everywhere. But also they're just fun. I mean, people have this idea that Pride is all about like kink and getting naked in public and stuff. And it's like, no, if you want that, there are places for that. But especially right now when we're talking about drag queens or grooming children, it's just ridiculous. And
yeah, that doesn't happen here.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, gosh, I think about like one of my favorite movies as a kid was Mrs. Doubtfire, and there's so many things in that movie that just didn't make sense to me as a kid. I was just enthralled with the idea that Robin Williams was an old lady and Robin Williams, and I thought it was so funny. And like that's kind of what it's not like that exactly, but like that's kind of what it is. It's not a big deal, right? Like people do drags because it speaks to something that they need, right? And then they enjoy doing it. And like clothes are arbitrary and fashion is arbitrary, and like people used to dress up like, I mean, you look at the French in, the before the French Revolution, and they were all looking like that. Like they had big hair and they had makeup and stuff. Like, why don't we just do this? Why don't people just enjoy wearing whatever they want? Like, we're a free country.
I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that surprises me too about the conversation about something like Pride is how much the people that complain the most have never been to one before.
Oh yeah.
So they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the most kid-friendly, amazing events that you'll go to.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, there needs to be a safe space for kids to see other people like them, because kids go through this stuff too.
Oh yeah.
It's very important. And one of the things I love about Silverton in particular is it's way more welcoming than most small towns.
It is. I mean, we're not from here. We just moved here 3 years ago, and we don't know anybody. We don't have any family in Oregon. We just moved here. And it's been amazing to see how quickly we've met people and made friends. And we're introverts. We're not out like, we don't go to clubs or anything. We're my spouse and I, we don't do a whole lot of partying. We don't know exactly how to find friends, but we've found them. And a lot of them, a lot of them are through the queer organizations in town, but some of them are from book clubs. Some of them are from churches. We go to church. Like, that's the other thing is like queer people believe in God. Like God is not like, straight people do not have a monopoly on God or belief, right? Yes. Or community even, because like that's the point of church. Like my spouse and I believe very differently about the divine, but we go to church because that's where people are, and because we want to be around people, and because there are a lot of shared values there. Like, I mean, protecting children and teaching them good things and how to be kind neighbors, and how to value family is really important, right? Like, just not every family looks the same. I mean, we're looking at adopting. We're not going to have a family that looks the same as anybody else's, and those are all legitimate things, like ways to build family. They're legitimate ways to build community. We are amazing creatures in that we find ways to overcome our own shortcomings in very creative ways, and especially social shortcomings. And I love that about humankind. And I think that, Pride, I love seeing that there are so many churches here, and that there are places that are opening up and saying, hey, we we share some beliefs, but you know, God's still there. God still loves you, or you know, you don't need to believe in God. I mean, we're just here. We're building community, and there's space for everyone. We don't have to agree on everything.
I think that's where you start to make that fundamental change, right? And I'm also a firm believer that there's a huge difference between the world you see on mainstream TV and the real world that we all are living in. Because TV doesn't even paint a realistic picture of people with reality TV.
No, and it doesn't in movies either. I find like one of the frustrating things that I see online. I mean, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and I come across. I mean, I have a background in theater, and I come across a lot of like film criticism and stuff because I'm interested in that. But I find a lot of people are arguing about representation in film and how, you know, oh, you can't have like everything's woke, right? And I feel like they're kind of missing the point. Like the reason why Disney movies are so hard to swallow now is not because they're just slapping, like, you know, they're making Ariel black or they're making so and so gay or whatever. It's because they're doing that without the sincerity of like, okay, so what is life like when, you know, when you're living the experience of a person of color or you're living the experience of a queer person. Like nobody's giving any thought to that. It's like people think that being female, being black, being queer, being whatever, being trans is all just they're interchangeable labels, and
right.
they're not just labels. They like there's something about you that's true, right? Like I mean, I'm asexual. That's one of my quote unquote labels, but I knew that I was when I was a kid, right? Like I had this expectation growing up that, oh, you're going to get married and you're going to have a lot of kids and that's life, but that didn't appeal to me. And honestly, like I've lived most of my adult life single. I'm married now. But I didn't expect that, and I didn't really, and I mean, it's kind of given me a little bit of a crisis to think about, like, well, what does this mean to be married and asexual? And I mean, I've kind of figured that out for myself, and it's still not true that I'm still, it's true of me that I'm still asexual, but it's something that I've always known. And so I've always known that the prospect of being with somebody, anybody, male or female, was going to be very difficult for me to kind of accept for myself. And it wasn't until I just started coming out and telling people, yeah, I'm asexual and this is my lived experience, that I kind of got to be comfortable with the idea of like, hey, I can have a partner and it's just going to look maybe a little differently than other people, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I would imagine that a lot of people, as soon as you say that, flip that judgment script.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that you were talking about with Disney, because like, yes, it's interesting that they make this character black, but they don't add any black culture with the character.
Yeah.
So it's the same white story, same white parameters. All you've done was change the skin tone of this individual. That is not embracing and accepting of that culture.
Yeah, and the idea that we all are just like, oh, if you're a liberal, you're happy about this. If you're a leftist, you're happy about this. It's like, no, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, I think the idea that wokeness is, you know, something that comes out of, I don't see it that way. I think if it's trying to play the field carefully and very calculated, but it doesn't serve anybody's end, right? Like people, there are people who don't want to see that at all. They don't want to acknowledge it. And, you know, that's fine. If you're living in a world full of people that look just like you and do just like you, like, you're not going to want to see different things because that's weird. It makes you uncomfortable. And it's fine to be uncomfortable. Everybody feels uncomfortable. Let's acknowledge that. But, like, also, it's uncomfortable to not see that, right? So,
100%.
yeah. So, it's like woke media is failing both sides because it's not going deep enough. It doesn't actually address the things that humans really care about.
Yes. And from the perspective of people from a different community, you're making these decisions without including a member of that community at the table.
Yeah.
And that is a disservice for people, because like if you're going to make a rule or a change or do anything that impacts the lives of an individual, that individual should have a seat at the table before that decision is made.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're fighting for, is for everybody to have equal access to the table. And I don't understand why that's such a hard thing for some people to swallow.
It's because it means that they have to actually sit with a weird person that makes them uncomfortable. And
they may have to take a moment and reflect on something that's unflattering about themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I say this as somebody who has a lot of really conservative family, and I'm very uncomfortable around them. But I'm trying, and it's hard. And I mean, that's the empathetic thing to do, is to just recognize that it is hard. And, when coming out to your parents, they might be like, I can't handle this. And, that's it. Time will hopefully heal that.
Yeah.
And for most people I know who have come out to their parents and had, maybe a bad reaction at first, most of them have had a good reaction in the end. Like, eventually they come around. I mean, there are some people who never talk to their families again, but I doubt that's necessarily because their families wouldn't grow. It's probably also because they decide that for themselves, they can't let themselves go out of their own discomfort, or like lean into their own discomfort and kind of figure that out, right? Like, oh, I don't want to be rejected again. I mean, that's really, really hard. And I can't sit here and pretend to be a therapist and tell people like, just get over yourself, but time will help. And just be open, just talk, just put your own ego aside for a moment, and just, who cares what people are wearing? Like, it's just, the weird thing is, like, trans people have been around forever. I remember like watching documentaries in the 90s on like 60 Minutes. They'd have a special about somebody who was trans, and like, oh, that was interesting, but there was no big to do. But we all knew that trans people existed, at least when I was a kid. So it's like, why is it such a big deal now? Is it because kids are experimenting with their own genders? And I mean, we're not letting them get medical things done. Like, that's weird. That is weird. We can agree on that. So let's just let kids kind of explore themselves. And if adults come out later in life, like, who cares? Who cares? Somebody wearing a dress, or women wear pants. And like, that's the dumb thing, is like, oh, I'm going to go off on a tangent, but
no, but it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, like, nobody talks about trans men. It's like, oh, because they're just women who wear pants, because women can wear pants now. So then what's the difference? Why can't straight men, gay men, trans women, why can't people wear dresses if they want? Who cares?
It shouldn't matter. Yeah. And actually I was interviewing Miss Trans Oregon earlier, and I had no idea that in order to go through transition, you had to go through a whole battery of psychological examinations.
Oh, yeah.
Before you can make a decision about your own bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of a world are we living in where that is, 6 dudes more often than not are the ones who ultimately decide what you can do with your own body?
Yeah. And that's why I think when people think of children transitioning, children are not transitioning medically. They are starting out the process, perhaps socially. Mm-hmm. They're wearing clothes that fit their identity. They're going by different pronouns. They're using a different name. They're growing out their hair or chopping their hair off. And they're experimenting, but they're not changing their bodies. That they have to wait. Like, because I mean, if anything, you have to just go through the process, which does take years. And a lot of those kids may grow up and be like, that was a phase. And you know what? Cool. Go through your phase. Be a trans quote unquote trender for a minute and just like figure your stuff out. And then if anything, you'll only grow to be a more empathetic adult.
And just how harmful it is when you stand against that for that child, mm-hmm. when you don't allow them to go through that process, where you try to sit there and tell them, no, you can't do this, or you can't be that way. Just how much more confusing and weird and awful life is. Mm-hmm. Just like, suck it up, parents, and support your child.
Yeah. No matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah.
It's your freaking child. Support your child.
Yeah.
It should be that simple. Yeah.
Because, and not everybody's fit to be a parent, and not every, children are not, you're not entitled to have children. Children are not a commodity. They're not an accessory. And I think too many people project onto their kids because of unfulfilled dreams that they had.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm sorry you didn't get to fulfill those dreams. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a world traveler. I wish I was. I've always dreamed of those things, but it's okay. It's okay. Just like be happy with where your life is. And if you can't be happy, like there's a community there to help you figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, where is your place? What are you fulfilling? If you need to make changes, make changes. But like don't push that all on your kids to live the life that you didn't get to live.
It's not fair to them, it's not fair to you.
Yeah.
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 It actually kind of places a limitation on your child. You know? Yeah. And it's sort of very similar like with parents with kids with disabilities. I always suggest letting them, like, how important it is to encourage them and have that discussion and not say, oh, you're never going to live on your own. Mm-hmm. Like, don't tell a kid that, because they internalize it, they believe it, and they will probably never live at home.
Yeah, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. So why can't we flip the script and be like, you know what? We're going to do everything in our power to make it to where you can. And if we can't, that's great too. But we need to encourage, support, and just be there for your kids.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of this reactive stuff, I think, is happening in part because we've spent the last about a little bit over half a century. Probably 75 years or so of just stripping society away from communal spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you can say, oh, well, people don't go to church anymore. And a lot of us think when we think of a communal space, we think of churches. But I mean, people used to live in small apartments stacked on each other in Chicago or New York, or they lived in small rural towns where they worked in each other's fields, and they kind of like children rotated around and lived with different families to help and learn different skills and apprentice out and stuff. So community was not just in a church building. It wasn't just in a school. It was in so many different, and because like we've been deprived of these opportunities to commune and build community because of technological advances and the economy, and how, we're being pinned against each other instead of given opportunities to learn from each other and realize, oh, hey, we all have basically the same goal, which is to feel like we're thriving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all want to be safe in our homes, have the ability to exist, provide for our families, and feel love.
Yeah, and it goes so much deeper than like you feeling uncomfortable around queer people or queer people being uncomfortable with their conservative family. Yeah. So like there's something deeper here that we need to address instead of constantly going after different groups.
And I think a lot of it has to do with this. So there's a struggle in my mind between this conceptualized standard of America of individualism and doing everything that you can on your own, contrasted with the reality that we can't exist in this country alone. Mm-hmm. We rely on everybody for everything. We share the same space. Somebody built this microphone. Somebody built that table. Like, we're not exclusive. We're a part of this collective, but yet we drive people and say you need to be individualistic.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird mixed message.
Well, and I think that that's something that people have latched onto, especially on the left recently, is like, oh, I'm going to be an individual. And individuality has its place, right? Like, fly any flag you want. 100%. But I think that's what I loved about the No Kings protest. My dad, actually, who is a Fox News watching kind of guy, we were talking, and he said that the one great thing about that day, it was Trump was having the 250th anniversary, quote unquote, birthday parade for the Army. Well, it was a birthday parade for the Army, but he kind of, anyway. So there was that going on, but then there were all these protests on this No Kings Day, and my dad said, I loved seeing how many American flags there were. He was kind of floored by that. He was shocked. And there was definitely an initiative pushed to have more American flags, because when people protest historically, they tend to have other flags.
Yeah.
They tend to have, Palestinian flags, which are important to bring attention to. They have Israeli flags, which are cool, cool, but or pride flags or don't tread on me flags or whatever. They have all of these different flags. And then the No Kings protest day on both sides, right? The No Kings protest day was like, no, American flags, because we need to find unity. We need to gather as individuals, united cause. And that is